Greetings and blessings, everyone. Welcome to Lights for the Way podcast. I'm your host, James Thomas Devitt, and as always, we are sponsored by the Blue Star Spiritual Group. Um, Today is an interesting day. I got an idea for this podcast yesterday. The title of this podcast is "The Masks We Wear," and the reason I came up with this is because believe it or not, I'm a fan of professional wrestling. I actually my wife and I just recently went to the live WWE show in Christchurch, which was a hoot. And it was hilarious. It was great. It was fun. And even though my wife's not a huge fan, she actually had a really great time as well. They have a wrestler. Her name is Asuka. Although when you look at her name, it looks like it's Asuka. She's from Osaka, Japan. She's been in NXT for 2 years, and she's just made it up to the main show on Monday Night Raw for WWE. But when she comes out, and I've seen this before, but it never really clicked before, but it clicked yesterday when I saw it. When she comes out, she's got these really elaborate robes, and she's always wearing a mask over her face. And she has different kinds of masks. And so, she'll come out and she'll be wearing a different mask than she did before and everything. And then this morning, I was talking to a mate of mine at the gym. Yes, I do go to the gym. I go to Les Mills here in Dunedin. And the gentleman is a friend of mine. He's a trainer there, a personal trainer. We got to talking, and we were talking about his heart chakra and some things that he's been going through and everything. And one of the things that we got to talking about is the masks that he wears and why he wears them and things like this, as well as the walls that he has up. So I thought this would be a perfect show to do. And I'm very, very excited because today with us is someone who hopefully will be doing these shows with us regularly. He's a new member of the Blue Star Spiritual Group. He's kind of a man after my own heart since he's actually from the Windy City over in Chicago, Illinois, over in the States, but living in the Wellington region. Please welcome to the show, Tom Jacobs. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing really good, James. Thanks for that introduction.
Please. You know, I got to admit to you, Tom, I got a little concerned yesterday. I called. I'm going. So everyone knows, it's like we're always pushing ourselves to learn more, to experience more, to explore more. And so I'm biting the bullet, and I start school next Monday.
Oh, that's right.
And I'm going to the Open Polytechnic, so I'm going to be doing it all from right here in the office, where I do the podcasts and where I do the videos and live events and everything. And I was a little dismayed because I thought it was going to be like a couple of months, for a course and have a nice day. And I find out that there's actually three assignments that I've got to do. They don't really care about the fact that we're going to have New Year's Day because the second assignment is actually due on the 4th of January. Hopefully I'll be recovered from New Year's Eve by then. And the last assignment's actually due on the 15th of February.
Oh my!
So this is not like a little short course. This is a proper course. So I'm not really sure what I've gotten myself into, but I'm sure it's going to be really fun. Now, with me, I was talking to a friend of mine today about masks, and I put out a message today about masks. And you have experiences with that as well, do you not?
I do indeed. Now, mine happened quite some time ago, and I realized
I believe we've had a little bit of a freeze here.
I had a real opportunity to go to a conservation camp, and I believe I was the only one, or I was one of few, very few people from my school. Now, bear with me because it very makes a good point. What ended up happening, and I don't know where the idea came from, but I realized that nobody there would really know me. And I, all through up to that point in school, I had been a very shy person and very reserved, didn't mix very well at all. And I thought, wait a second, nobody there knows me. I could be any way that I wanted to. I could be a totally different person. So it was that point that I decided I was going to be outgoing. I was going to be tell jokes. I was going to be funny, and so from the get-go of getting on the bus throughout the whole camp, which was not just a day, it was a whole week long. I was telling jokes, making people laugh. I was, enjoying myself, being in the leadership roles. All sorts of things were going on, and no one knew any better. No one knew any different. That I was generally very shy and reserved. It ended up at the end of the camp. They were giving out awards, and they gave me an award for being the most outstanding leader of the group. I thought it just made such an impact on me that we do carry these masks, but we could also make that choice to change them at any time we want to, and how it dramatically it influences the people around us.
Well, now my question to you is this. Now you went to camp and you decided to alter your personality. Well, not really alter it, but just allow yourself the freedom to just be yourself. So my
Right.
question to you is this: after the camp was over with and you went back to your school, did you maintain that? Did you continue that going, or did you go back into your shy reserve state?
I think I went kind of half and half with that, James. I decided that I did have something that I could share. I know that I ended up running for a class president, and did I became more actively involved, which was more within that type of character, and out, being outside, a little bit more spoken out. And yeah, so I would say more half and half.
But that it sounds like that had probably a really profound effect on you in your life, though.
It did. I mean, from that point on, I realized I had the potential to really make a change in my life quite dramatically and quite quickly. That no one is really locked into a particular way of being. It's just a choice that we're making, and I think you've pointed out several times on some of the things that you've posted. It really boils down to a choice that we make when we get out of bed. What am I going to be like today? What is my contribution going to be? And and I think we go from there.
For myself, I went through a lot of stuff growing up. Not pleasant stuff. I'm not going to get into it. It's not a big deal. It's over with, and I have healed and moved on from that. But because of that situation, it's very interesting because we also have masks that will only appear in certain situations or certain things.
Mhm.
Whenever next month, actually in November, the 12th of November, it will be 31 years that I've been on this path consciously. And in the early days of walking this path, what I noticed was when it came to the spiritual stuff, I was very open and very, giving and, whatever, things like that. But when it didn't have anything to do with the spiritual stuff, I was very closed off and I wore numerous masks. And I
Mm.
got to a point when I was going through my healing of the past and everything, when I actually got to a point where it's like I actually came to the conclusion I no longer cared. And it was so profound for me that in my last job at Wellington Hospital, working in medical records, I would walk down the hallway going to make a cup of tea, and I'd be singing in light language. Or someone would come in and they would be annoying me. And it's like they would be yapping and yapping and yapping and talking and annoying me. And so I just turn around and answer them in light language. And they actually, when I finished up there last March, they basically were like, "Oh, we're losing our extraterrestrial," because they all just accepted me as the extraterrestrial of the team and have a nice day. And they knew what I was into, and it didn't matter, and it was all good. And I mean, I worked with Christians and things like that, and I actually would target because we had a particular Christian that's in a really, really, really big time fundamental style of Christianity and very judgmental and everything. So I made sure to make her my best friend. And I had loads of fun. And I had loads of fun.
Yeah.
I posted
Yeah.
today about masks, and people are like, oh, well, I can do that with some people, but other people I can't. It's like, why not?
Mm. Well, I
It's
mean,
like, if you're not going to be yourself, who is?
your example is so profound because what it really points it out is the freedom that you actually allow yourself to be, and the lightness. All of a sudden, there's a feeling of lightness that comes over you when you give yourself that freedom.
One thing that I learned a long, long time ago when I was a kid, it does not matter what you do. It does not matter what choices you make. People are going to judge you.
Mm.
There are going to be those people who are going to criticize you. If you are silly enough, like myself, to actually put yourself out there in the public domain, as I have, you will get haters.
Yeah.
I've got them. No big deal. And it's like it comes with the territory. And
Mm.
unfortunately, it is a situation now where, because of technology, we have more and more people who are willing to bash people over the computer because they would never have the guts to do it to your face or face to face, but over the computer, oh well, they'll say whatever, and it gets a little funny. But the thing is that the more you can remove those masks, and the funny thing is, some people only have one mask.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But there are people out there who will have 6, 7, 8 masks.
Yes.
They'll have a mask for this situation or that situation. They'll have one mask for their family, one mask for work, one mask when they're out with their friends. And it gets to a point where you literally end up losing yourself and losing who you are, where you are, and all you're doing is playing a game. Now it was really interesting because I thought it was really phenomenal. I really did. Before we came on air, you shared with me a saying that you had found.
Yeah.
And I want you to share that because to me, that's, I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Alicia Keys, but I do like her. She is really cool. But what you shared with me was, in my opinion, extremely profound. So if you go ahead and share that with everyone.
Yeah, be happy to. To be honest, I don't even know who Alicia Keys is. I think she's a singer, isn't she?
She is a really kicking R&B singer. She is really amazing.
There we go. Okay. She uh, she gave this quote, which is I think really quite profound. It says, "I am a very positive person, but this whole concept of having to always be nice, always smiling, always happy, that's not real. It's not like It was like I was wearing a mask. I was becoming this perfectly chiseled sculpture, and that was bad. That took me a long time to understand." And I think that so profoundly states, almost to be honest with you, the masks that many quote unquote spiritual people wear. That they have to be happy, they have to have a smile, they have to always be never say a swear word. Those types of things are uh, just a mask that we don't really need.
I have to admit, man, I'm laughing because it's like Man, sometimes if I get on a roll, I'm better than a sailor, man.
Oh yeah,
I'm,
yeah, I
I'm a
know.
southern boy, so I got a mouth on me. I assure you of that. But it's just like, those spiritual people who go around saying, "Oh, well, if you're going to be spiritual, you got to be a vegan, or you have to be a vegetarian, or you must meditate for an hour a day, or you can't watch TV." All of these things, they place all these rules,
Yeah.
and it's like they're actually hiding from themselves as well, because
Well,
it's like it doesn't matter if you watch. I mean, like you go through these stages in your life. Like for myself, I used to love watching comedies, right? So I would watch shows like MASH and Cheers and all of those kind of shows. I liked NYPD Blue, if you remember that one.
I do. Yes.
Shows like that. And nowadays, it's like I enjoy watching things like Master Chef, My Kitchen Rules, X Factor, American Idol, The Voice. Occasionally, I'll find a show that I like. I'm currently watching the new Star Trek series Discovery on Netflix.
Okay.
It's
Yep.
actually phenomenal. It's so good. But it's like all of these comedies and stuff that I used to watch all the time. I don't watch them anymore.
Mm.
And ever since we moved down here to Dunedin, because when I was working at the hospital, I'd get up in the morning and I'd always watch a half an hour of Sky News UK.
Okay.
And when we left Wellington, we decided not to have Sky anymore. And I can't even really tell you the last time I watched the news. But it's not
I
it's not because of rules, and it's not because somebody's going, oh well, you can't do that. Our tastes change.
Yes, exactly. I'm the same way. I probably have not watched the news for probably well over a year, and I always just figure if I need to know about it, I'll know about it. Either that or the house will shake. One of the two.
Well, you do live in the Wellington region.
We do live in the well. Now, James, I wanted to point out something about masks that I think is just a point of view that I have, but I think it might lend to the conversation. What I hear us saying a lot is that masks really are an identity that we've chosen through a judgment of a situation. So basically, masks are just simply judgments that we're making. Now, I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing because if we're aware of it, in other words, if I'm aware that I'm wearing a mask in a certain circumstance, then it may be serving me. So masks, I feel like it's worthy of pointing out. Masks are all right, provided that they are serving me and that I'm aware of them. It's just when I become unaware of the implementation of a mask and it actually becomes part of my identity.
And I'm gonna politely disagree a little bit, and I'll explain
Okay.
why. So, well, on my post about masks that I did today, someone came back and basically was saying things like, she didn't want to put her perceptions on somebody else, and I understand that.
Yep.
However, that is something different from wearing a mask. It's just like my my friend who is this Christian, right, that I worked with.
Yes.
I didn't go to her and tell her that she was actually part of a cult. That's what I think. Not all Christians are, but this particular church is very cult-like.
Yes.
Okay, and I never said that to her. I never pushed my perceptions or my beliefs on her,
Hmm.
and I don't do that to anybody. I mean, we've known each other for a while. I will
Yeah.
share my truth, you know, and the first thing out of my mouth after I do that is, please discern. You know, I don't push my truth on anybody. I don't push my perceptions on anybody. But at the same time, if someone comes to me, and I mean, it's like there are certain times when You know, it's like you don't want to broach a certain topic with certain people. Okay. And
Yeah.
I understand that. But that's not wearing a mask.
Okay.
That's being discerning.
I agree. Yes.
Wearing a mask is like showing yourself to be something you're not. See, there's the difference there because it's like, you know, I wouldn't, I have somewhat of an advantage here because I do a lot of spiritual work, but I'm also a professional life coach as well. And so generally when people ask me what I do, I just tell them I'm a life coach. I don't, and I also will many times say, well, I also do spiritual work as well. But I don't go into it. I don't dwell on it because it's like I don't need anybody else's approval. I tend to find that people who go on and on about something with other people, you know, and it's almost like they're trying to get validation.
Correct. Yeah.
It, you know, and it's like I don't need anyone's validation. I walked on this path, and it's like I told you before. On the 12th of next month, it's going to be 31 years for me that I've been walking this path. That's a long time.
Hmm.
I've seen a lot. I've experienced a lot. I've experienced things that, to be honest with you, some of the things that I've experienced, I don't share with other people because, quite frankly, they wouldn't believe it anyway. And I understand that.
Yeah.
But it's like you can be yourself and not create a situation that's negative for you.
Correct.
So, in that regard, see, it's like I choose not to inflict my opinions on other people. If I'm teaching a class, I will share my truth. I will give them spiritual truth. You've experienced one of my workshops,
I have. Yes.
and I do that.
Yes, you do.
But I don't like try and enforce and say this is the truth and you will live by it. I don't do that.
No.
You know, it's like you have to be part of taking away the masks is being able to say, you know what, I honor your truth and I honor who you are, and that's all I want in return.
Yes.
So it's difficult because I kind of find that generally the majority of people with masks are those people who have gone through trauma in their life.
Agreed.
They are people who have gone through loss. They are people who have been adversely judged and criticized,
Yeah.
or they feel like it's the only way that they can move forward in their life, or things like this. And the thing is the fact that when you start wearing all these masks around people, because you've gone through things, and it's like you go out with your friends, oh, well, I can't show that part of myself. I can't be vulnerable. And then all of a sudden, it's like this friend of mine that I was talking to this morning, he has an emotion, and the first thing he does is put the emotion into a box
Yeah.
because he's disconnected between his heart and his mind.
Yeah.
And he shows people what he thinks that they want to see, you
And
know.
that's a really difficult position to be in because you're trying to outguess uh, someone that you honestly don't know. You know, they and to try to put yourself in that position is so stressful. Um, it, it's an interesting thing because one of the television programs that I watch is Suits. Thank you to my daughter for turning us on to Suits, and it's there's the main theme is this lie, but the lie itself perpetuates another lie, which perpetuates another lie, which perpetuates another lie. From what I'm hearing you say is that once we have masks, that there is a tendency for us to create even more masks and more situations simply to continue to present ourselves in certain ways. And like I said, it's almost futile because you, uh, I can't. you would never know a person well enough to be able to know exactly how to approach them or how to act any particular way or to what mask to be wearing. You'd have to have a complete selection at your disposal.
Well, yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, and you are right, because it's kind of like what you have to understand is this, and I realize that some people may get a little offended by this, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but it is true. It is a situation where people need to realize that when you are wearing a mask and you are hiding behind that mask,
Hmm.
it's more than just the fact that you're not showing your authentic self to somebody. And it's not just that you are trying to, it's not about living an authentic life. What it becomes, it's like a lie. You start telling a lie about something, and then you have to cover that lie with another lie, and then cover that lie with another lie. And then pretty soon you don't know what lie you've told to who. And all of a
Yes.
sudden you're so confused you don't know what you're doing. And so you either run away and scream or you throw your hands up in the air. Now, when you start wearing these masks and you're wearing them day in and day out and you're wearing them in front of different people, then you've got to put on different masks. And then you're switching the masks around. And next thing you know, you're in a labyrinth and you have no idea how to get yourself out. And so you get lost. And then what happens? Once you get lost, then you start retreating into yourself. You start cutting people out. You start pushing people away. You end up feeling lonely and isolated. And then all of a sudden, you're finding that the situation has become so dire and you have no clue of how to get yourself out of it.
So let's go from there, James. It's like obviously masks are used in many ways as a form of protection. Uh,
Yes?
and, and so people are going to, if people were to all of a sudden pull their mask away, there's that sense of vulnerability, almost a sense of fear. Now, what would your advice be for someone who says, okay, I want to start to live an authentic life? What would your advice be as to how to go about doing that?
Well, it would really depend upon where they are at. If they are at that point where they are really lost and have no clue, they need to contact someone like yourself or myself to get professional assistance to move beyond that. But if they're still engaged in everything, the first thing that they have to do is they have to ask themselves, why am I wearing this mask?
Yes.
What is the reason for it? And if they discover that the reason that they're wearing this particular mask is because of what happened to them when they were growing up, because of what their parents did or whatever it might be, like the gentleman this morning was like, he watched his parents fight a lot, but his father was gone most of the time. He felt isolated, he felt alone, all of these things. So that was trauma that he experienced. For myself, I went through abuse. And
Mhm.
so that was the trauma I went through. And so once you go through that, and if you know, well, I wear this mask because I've been really judged greatly in this area or that area, or I went through this growing up or when I was a young adult or whatever. Then the next step is to start the process of forgiveness
Mm.
and release. Because until you can forgive, as long as you're carrying that emotional tag, it it's gonna you're still gonna be fighting with this whole mask situation, and it's not something that it's like you have one session or you sit down and you say a couple of affirmations and you go, I forgive everybody, yay, it's all done. It's not all done. Sorry. I mean, it took me 10 years to really really get to a point where I was starting to live more authentically. And even then, it still took a few more years of really focusing on accepting me for who I am and moving into that space where it's like, no, this is who I am, and if you don't like it, I don't really care. You know, all what I can only control one thing, and that's me. So I am in control of living my life authentically or not. I am in control on whether I wear a mask or not, and I choose not to. Um, I'm in control on how I treat other people. I am in control in how I treat myself. All of these things.
All choices.
So in a way, it's like when you begin the process of removing the masks, it's more than simply a freedom. It's more than simply um, letting go of that desire of hiding yourself. It's actually empowering,
Mm.
and it empowers you. And when it starts to empower you, then all of a sudden, that's when your life can begin to really, really change.
And it starts a perpetual motion. It starts that empowerment starts the next empowerment, and it gets stronger.
Correct. And then all of a sudden, instead of a snowball going downhill of despair and depression and
I see.
hiding, becomes going downhill towards empowerment and opportunities and potentials. And the choice ultimately is ours.
Yes.
We're going to close off the podcast now. I think this has been a phenomenal conversation. I want to thank you so much, Tom, for being here and participating. We'll do this many more times, I can assure you.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, eventually we will get to a point where the plan currently, to let everyone know, because I mean, we did 3 podcasts last week, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. This is our first one this week, and although it's Wednesday, you're going to be listening to it at the earliest tomorrow, Thursday. I've already done the artwork and everything for it, but it takes a little bit of time for processing and everything. And so hopefully we'll do 2 or 3 next week as well. I start school on Monday. Yay!
Hey.
So very, very exciting. But it's going to be great because with it comes a brand new website, which is going to be brilliant.
That's exciting.
Now, before we close this off, again, we have Anita Davies, who's part of the Blue Star Spiritual Group, and she is a psychic medium and does psychic and medium readings, as well as starseed readings, which are bloody amazing.
Agreed.
And Tom, if you want to let people know what you do as well.
Well, I do the Blue Star Healing, which is
Yep.
phenomenal. I also do a process that I called energetic readings and drawings. I know it's kind of a long terminology, but basically what happens is I tune into a person's energy and I do an energetic drawing of them. I get a vast amount of symbols and colors and everything. It's really quite exciting, fun doing it. And then I spend time typing up a report so that they get a full report on what actually came through. And anything can come through, anything from their past to their present situation, and what we can empower them with their future.
We got to work on that name though.
That
And of course, I'm doing the personal Akashic Scrolls, Blue Star Healing as well, and Anita's also a Blue Star Healing Master as well. And I also am a spiritual coach and counselor, and as well as a professional life coach of career, relationships, as well as self-esteem issues and personal issues like that. So next time we'll see you on the flip side, and
Cool.
many blessings to everyone. Yes?
Thank you, James, and blessings to everyone.
Have a great one. Bye-bye.